Yes, my husband is very much into it. Now that you're mentioning the sun, I'm gonna have to ask you about the moon too and what you think. But he's very much into not looking like sun gazing because I'm uncertain about it and for the eye, but exposure to the sun and the full body because we're always wearing clothes on. So he's taking off his shirt and doing the sun exposure as well as
Mm.
grounding or earthing, depending on how we call it.
Mhm.
But also the moon that has, and I noticed even for myself and my own health, like full moon, and the moon in particular, what do you think about its energy? I know it moves water, so I suppose it has some level of activity or action here. But how do you compare it to the energy provided from the sun?
That's a good question. So, definitely not an expert, but from what I know, the moon influences somewhat the Earth's electromagnetic field, and
Mhm.
um, the frequency at which our body vibrates, if you will, and the Earth's frequency should be very close to one another.
Mhm.
And so, unfortunately, most of what I understand about how that eventually affects us is on a negative side. But I know, for instance, if you talk to like a prison guard or a prison nurse, or you talk to a nurse that works in a psychiatric ward, or sometimes even if you talk to a school teacher or a principal, they will tell you that at times when there's a full moon, people's behavior, their behavior will change. And my idea for that is that perhaps their body, their nervous system is already unstable. And then that shift in the Earth's electromagnetic field creates a little bit more instability for them because they're not stable to begin with, creating anxiety perhaps, and then behaviors change. I'm sure that works also in a positive direction, but unfortunately, as a doctor, my job is to figure out what's going on. So I spend time thinking about the other side of things sometimes. But I do think that there are certainly benefits to be had from the moon cycles and all of this. I just haven't really delved into that particularly, but I will now because of that question. So thank you.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see what natural elements can do to
Mhm.
a human body as it's almost like a back and forth or respond to one each other.
That's right.
Can you talk at all about the composition of the products, of your products that we have and what is it made of?
Sure. So I'll give you as much information as I can without getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you that there is the device is made up of naturally occurring components. So there's nothing synthetic, no strange chemical reactions or anything like that going on. No magnets. There's no radiation of any kind. Any radiation in terms of bad radiations that we're talking about. So I can tell you that much. There's also an activation period involved. So it's not just the makeup of the device itself, but there's also a process that the device must go through before it's fully active. Once it's fully activated, it will generate energy, and it's very stable. That's what I can say. The energy is very stable, so it's not like from one day to another you're getting some different power, if you will. It's very, very, very stable. Um, at the moment, that's about as much as we are able to share. In the future, that may change. We may become a little bit more transparent. But right now, we have patents pending and things like that. So that's why we don't go too much into it. Yeah, too much into it. But that's a good question.
Well, thank you for what you were able to provide for information.
You're welcome.
Tesla Biohealing claims to promote wellness and balance in the body. Can you share specific examples where this technology has shown promising results? Case
Oh,
studies or whatever comes to your mind as far as specific examples.
how much time do you have? I mean, because I have
Well,
so many stories. I First of all, I love to tell stories. And second of all, I've seen things here that I've never seen before. I've seen things here that I didn't think was possible, and I've seen things here that I didn't think was possible in such a short amount of time. Uh, and that's coming from a person who started working here as a skeptic. When I first came here, I was just waiting for the day where I would say, I knew it was not, I knew it was too good to be true. So I can say that first of all, let me preface this entire portion of the conversation by saying that Tesla Biohealing doesn't claim to treat, cure, mitigate any disease. We're not in the disease business, right? We're in the wellness business. So what we do purport is that we are energetically supporting the body so that it does more efficiently what it's designed to do. Okay. So I can tell you that people who have let's talk about brain-based conditions. So let's talk about your Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, MS, anxiety, sleep disorders, and things like that. It seems that somehow the brain responds very quickly and profoundly to this type of energy. And what I'm seeing, what we're seeing, and what we are working to prove in our clinical trials is that in medicine, it's standard is standard knowledge. Same thing. I was, even from a holistic standpoint, I was taught the same thing in school, that once you get to a certain stage in a disease process, especially degenerative brain diseases, that it's all about maintaining. Let's just try to slow down the progression of Parkinson's, or let's just try to slow down progression of Alzheimer's or dementia, or so on and so forth. And what I'm seeing live and in color, on a weekly basis, I'm seeing people who have been in deeper levels of these disease processes responding and seemingly going in reverse in terms of function. Once again, we're not claiming to cure, treat, or mitigate anything, but somehow the body is responding on a level that modern medicine and modern medical providers, I mean, it's unbelievable. If you were telling me these stories and I wasn't seeing it for myself, or if you were telling me these stories and we weren't actively collecting data, to prove these things, I wouldn't believe it. So on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis, I am hearing and seeing and reviewing data for people who are having turnarounds that it's almost impossible. I've just never seen it before. I've never seen it before. Some people who have particular challenges that I see respond very quickly are people who have what I like to call mystery illnesses. So they either have a diagnosis that doesn't make much sense to them or to other practitioners, or they have no diagnosis, but they have significant symptoms. They're getting turnarounds that they haven't found in other places. Same thing, degenerative brain diseases like dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, so on and so forth. They respond very quickly. People who have like COPD and emphysemas, asthma, upper respiratory something, they respond very quickly. I almost don't autoimmune conditions, they respond very quickly. So the answer to your question is I see it all the time. And we're going to be doing clinical trials probably for the next 50 years, just so that everyone else knows, everyone else can experience, because it matters a little bit what I see, but I work for the company. You have to take everything I say with a grain of salt, which is why we do clinical trials.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm
So
still,
the mission, everyone in the company. Yeah, go
you
ahead.
know,
Yeah.
I'm very happy to hear. I mean, especially for myself. I mean, that's why I'm here.
Yes.
To hear that it's especially responsive for the brain, because my condition is brain based. So that's why I'm here. So it's very interesting too, and I mean, it makes me happy to hear that it's
Good.
very responsive with this organ.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you people are often apprehensive about product safety and how things work in general. Is it safe what you're doing, or do you have side effects, and so on? Your technology is fairly new, correct? I mean, how you said
Correct. Yeah.
couple years,
About 4 years old. Yeah.
4 years. What kind of potential downside can an individual may expect or experience exposed to it?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we're somewhere between 35,000 and 40,000 worldwide users. And to this date, we have 0 reported adverse effects, which I think is phenomenal. It's kind of rare. Also, that holds true for our clinical trials. No adverse effects reported. So I would say the most negative outcome that people typically have using our technology is that they don't experience anything, or they don't see the manifestation of impact on the body. That happens sometimes. It's actually fairly rare. Most people who use our technology experience evidence that their body is moving in the right direction. There are people who don't see any difference. And I would say for maybe 60 to 70% of those people who don't see a difference, it's because their body is in need of much more power than what they're able to afford, or maybe have the time to experience in a nearby center.
Yeah, it's interesting. My first introduction to Tesla Biohealing was, I guess, one night or two. And while I was at the center, well, a lot of people do mention, people that I meet at the different hotels and center do mention that they feel right away the energy. I guess I'm not that type of person. I don't feel it right away when I get here. Like, I don't get all energized and all. Maybe it's just me. But is it what you're saying? People that are here that do experience the energy, whether they go in the pool that is like highly energized, just enter the room, enter the building itself, that they get the goosebumps or what? But also, so I'm going off a tangent here a little bit.
That's okay.
I've also heard people that get back home, or once they've spent their time, for example, they were wearing glasses, or I'm not exactly sure what the case was, but they were wearing vision glasses.
Yes.
They were here for a certain amount of time, didn't experience much, went back home and putting on the glasses, and like, wait, I don't really see anymore. I am better without the glasses. So I thought that was interesting to
Yeah, absolutely. You're actually normal. So the vast majority of people do not feel the actual energy itself. Usually the people who have those sensations, they're either very healthy or very ill. Those typically are the people who physically can feel the energy. And I probably would say even as maybe low as 5% of people, maybe 10% of people actually feel the energy, of physical sensation associated with the energy. So you're actually quite normal, and it's true too that many times during the stay at a center, or even sometimes during the first maybe week or two of having technology at home, people are almost questioning why they came in the first place, or why they purchased the device. And then 10 days out, 3 weeks, a month and a half out, they start to see these big signs, irrefutable signs that their body is doing something that it hasn't been able to do for a while. So yeah, absolutely.
great.